Education in America has been around since the colonial era. From promoting religious orthodoxy to the study of quantum physics, education has been evolving in schools all across the country. Although education is fairly crucial, an important factor is what gives it the ability to launch its full potential. This key factor is known as obedience. Obedience is the act of being attentive and portraying a command or will being given. Obedience is doing my duty with a good attitude. It is having great discipline. Essentially, it is what makes a human being successful and unique from the rest. Obedience is not just about rules, regulations, or punishment. It is really about cooperating with one another in order to have a good, safe, and orderly environment. Success in school comes from good discipline. Good discipline leads to the retaining of education, which has the power and potential to transform lives. In the past, receiving this education was an order of segregation. Colored people had to go to different public schools from those of white people. However, nearly 6 decades after Brown versus Board of Education, which in 1954 prohibited segregation of public schools, still too many children struggled in low-performing and under-resourced schools. In addition, the struggle for these children and youth is made worse by school discipline policies and practices that contribute to the disruption of teaching and learning opportunities for school staff and students. Obedience and having good discipline makes teamwork and cooperation possible by clarifying one's duty and doing it to the best of their ability. But how is this followed in today's society? How are American schools dealing with discipline from students? Is it bad or good discipline? Discipline in school is different today than it was in the 1950s. In low-resourced and low-performing schools, behavior has been an issue. The lack of obedience has led to the disruption of class, where the student is no longer focusing on important lectures. Social media today exposes the malconduct done by students. There is involvement of fights between kids, including fights with the adult or the teacher. The strict rules from the past have been altered to broken rules in the present. Many kids don't focus due to the usage of cell phones in the class, coming tardy, taking naps, and not being prepared. School leads to a certain feel of apathy or lack of interest in students, causing many to skip class or even drop out.
This school environment?
Yes,
I do.
I do. I always brag about Forest Park because this is the most diverse school in the county, which I love. That's why I continue to stay here. I like the diversity here, and I do like the environment. You know, the climate and the culture sometimes is needs to be addressed a little bit, but as far as the overall environment and the students and the teachers and the faculty and staff, and you know, I love it. In the community, I love it. You know, I've been in this community for a long time, so yes, I really do love it. With it being the most diverse school in the county, the one thing I would hope to see change over the years is people coming together. It would be so nice to see the diversity that Forest Park has at all the sporting events, all the activities involved in the school. So if I could change one thing, you know, or see something improve, I would like to, you know, bring that diversity together and, you know, come together.
When you say one thing I could change, I would like to change the time of the schedule and the time of day. Well, the administrators have a guideline from the school district, and it is written in a school handbook. And the handbook determines the consequences, and the administrators use that as the guidelines in terms of how they dispense consequences. Now, I say to all my students, I will be fair, but I'm not going to always be equal, because different students need different kinds of consequences. And I take all that into consideration depending on the kind of students, the nature of the student, and how the student is responding to the consequences. I take all that into consideration. So I will be fair, but not always equal. There's always room for change. Administrators, the discipline is always evolving. We've had a number of instances where we've had a lot of discipline consequences that were levied to students, and we looked at the data, because our suspension rate was high, and we looked at the data, and we talked about the various incidents in why students were suspended, and we tried to come up with some solutions. For example, there was a time when the telephone issue was very high. Students would call for their phone, their phones were taken until their parents came. We had issues with parents. And then also when the students did not want to give up their phone, they became disrespectful, and it was a push and pull kind of thing. So we compromised with that, and we noticed that it has improved the environment a whole lot.
A national study of teachers and parents found that while only a handful of troublemakers cause most disciplinary problems, the tyranny of the few leads to a distracting and disrespectful atmosphere. Rowdiness, disrespect, bullying, talking out, lateness, and loudishness. These misbehaviors are poisoning the learning atmosphere of American public schools, said the Public Agenda President Ruth A. Wooden. Discipline and behavior problems in America's public school are serious, pervasive, and are compromising student learning. They are also driving a substantial number of teachers out of the profession. Teachers in particular complain about the growing willingness of some students and parents to challenge teacher judgment and threaten legal action. According to a report by research organization Public Agenda, teachers too must operate in a culture of challenge and second-guessing that it is affecting their ability to teach and maintain order. This refers to classroom management and how one, which in this case a teacher or administrator, must control bad discipline. Proposed solutions selected by teachers and parents include stricter enforcement of existing rules of conduct, alternative schools to help chronically disruptive students, and limiting parents' ability to sue schools over disciplinary decisions.
The students get rough in terms of when they behavior or when things going bad for them, to explain. When my kids are well, you know, I'm a little brusque, you know, and what I've learned over the years is the kid realize you care and you show them that, you have a whole lot more say in how they behave. But you have to show that. And the way I do that may come off a little brusque, but I've always taken pride in building rapport with my students. I like to build rapport. I have to let them know that they're not the first and they won't be the last that's going through or seeing some things. And once you build that rapport with them, then you can come at them a little differently.
Solutions can also be derived from studies, which show how students who act up in school express reasons for doing so. Some think that teachers don't care about them. Others are unaware that their adolescent behaviors will result in punishment they won't like. Many kids go through personal problems in their very own household, and others don't consider having success or any goal settings in school. A better school environment can be led by clear and enforced rules, good conduct by adults, and a sense of building a strong bond with the student. Education starts by having discipline, and this discipline should be taught to students.
Our students is our number one priority, and we're here to help lead and guide them in terms of being a moral compass. So we do what is necessary because we don't want them to have to experience that growth period after they leave here. We want to be able to help them learn from it so that after school, after graduation, they'll be ready to face the real world. That's all? Oh, it's my pleasure.